Hello, and welcome to week 6 in psychology seminar. And in fact, this week there is no chapter that we are going to be covering. We are simply working on the special assignment or reading of Pinker's book, Enlightenment Now. Now, I have hoped that you have been going ahead and reading this book because for this particular week, we are going to be looking at chapters 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. In these chapters, Pinker lays down his premise, his entire shtick is that according to mathematics and statistics, there are innumerable ways in which the world is on a very, very positive progression. That things are going better than they ever have, that in these various areas that, he just goes through them. We have life, health, sustenance, and wealth. In all of these areas, on a global scale, things have been improving, and we're at the top. We're at the best place in which the world has ever been. This should really boggle your mind, and that is almost the entire purpose of this critical thinking idea that the statistics are telling us, if you look at the actual statistics of this data, things are getting better. Yet if you watch the news, talk to the average person on the street, listen to the average politician, the world is going right to hell. Listen to the pulpit, listen to the preacher, listen to the priest, listen to any one of them, and you're like, what is this? Why is there this continuing message of negativity when things are actually going well? Now, I want to make a distinction. Now, there are things that are challenging going on. There are things that are extremely threatening right now, with wars that are going on, with inequality, with under the new president, the rules and regulations that are coming out. These are all very real, and Pinker does not dismiss those in this sort of Pollyannish, like, well, in the big picture, things are going well. We still have to address the immediate. But this idea, this notion that the world is in a much worse place than it's been and all that really doesn't fly. We have immediate concerns that we need to address, but the long-term outcomes have been going well, and Pinker's major argument is going to be we do not want to stop that long-term progress simply as a knee-jerk to the smaller time frame things that are happening right now, and that is very possible. We could, for instance, as we have seen, the United States has pulled out of the World Health Organization and is now reducing communication between our scientists and the scientists around the world, and that may very well have long-term consequences on what has been a remarkable, if not miraculous, progress in the elimination of disease and suffering, hunger worldwide. We have to be on guard to safeguard the things that are in place. Now, the first chapter talks about progress phobia, which is our fear of change, our fear of new things coming along. He addresses that. And then he goes through the various areas that he feels progress is being made over the last centuries and whatnot. The chapter then goes into revealing why is it when the facts are laid out, we still tend to see things negatively. First off, as human beings, genetically, evolutionarily, even practically, we focus on negative things. If I'm looking at the weather, I'm not really concerned if it's a nice day. I might be happy that it's a nice day, but I'm not concerned about it. But if it's not a nice day, I want to know specifics. How much rain, how much snow, how much wind. So there's a negativity bias because negative information or poor outcomes or whatever is what we need to know for survival. Way back in the evolutionary clock, if I was going to go in hunting into an area of the woods, I would want to know if there's a bear there. I'm not concerned if there's not a bear there, but I do want to know if there is a bear there, because maybe I want to hunt someplace else. So we have built into our psyche a focus on the negative. The next piece that comes along is called confirmation bias. And now what that is when we are looking at information, none of you come to that without pre-existing concepts and ideas about what the truth is. In fact, we hold on to those a lot because they've gotten us this far. We believe the world works a certain way. So far, so good. I must be right. That's fine. So when I'm looking at information, I will be drawn to information that confirms what I feel I already know, and I may suppress the rest of it. Now, to be a good critical thinker, you always have to have your own beliefs on the table. Those are the ones that you subject. It's a very scary situation to live this way, but my belief systems should be analyzed. They should be compared to new data that's coming, and I should be updating that information. We talk about it in psychology as the process of assimilating new information and accommodating existing understandings of the world in order to adapt to new information. If we don't accommodate, we are going to be stuck in old ways of thinking that do not line up with the facts. But we have a tendency, that is a natural tendency of the brain, of the human personality, to be drawn toward that. Let's add another thing. Many of us get our information from the internet. The problem with the internet is how we access it. The internet is a huge network of computers, but we use tools like Google to search that network in order to find answers to questions that we have. Now, because of how Google works, Google will document your searches, what words you use, will document what you click on, and will interpret that information as your preferences. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. You've experienced this readily if you've ever done a shopping trip on Google looking for a product, and then you go onto other pages in which there are Google ads, suddenly you're looking at ads for what you just shopped for. That is that process by which, so sorry about the bubble there. I did this, and I got a little bubble on my computer here. When you do that search, Google is interpreting as that's what you want to know. And it gives you those ads so that you can follow up. I mean, that's how they make money. The problem is when you're searching for answers first, and you have a focus on the negativity bias, and you have a focus on the things that already reinforce what you know and believe, then pretty much every time you put a search in, the only thing you're getting are things that are negative that you already believe. And suddenly, the internet is confirming your worst fears. Every time you do a search, you're finding more and more evidence of how the world is going to hell. This is manufactured. This is not reality. It is part of the algorithm that is built into search engines. In order to combat that, now, I'm a very big fan of Google, and I use Google all the time. I do not use Google, however, when I'm making important research. It is not the tool. It might be a tool where I can try and find names of individuals. I put my searches in very generic terms so that it's not giving me a direction. I'm very, very conscientious about that. And if I'm looking for answers to a psychological question or a social issue, whatever, I will phrase my question in such a way that I'm trying to eliminate the direction by which I would want to do that. It doesn't mean that it's not still working against me. The information, however, I take from the web is evaluated. I don't take it at face value. I look at where the information is coming from. I evaluate the validity of the information. And more often than not, I use my results in Google to do extended researches in the actual literature through paid for databases like EBSCO and the American Psychological Association's websites and research. And if it's an important question, if it's not an important question, I use Google all the time and I go with whatever it says. That's fine. But when it comes to important questions like what am I going to vote for, or how am I going to feed myself, or what exercise routines, or can I actually take that pill and I'll lose 50 pounds in 1 month, those kind of things, I go way beyond Google. Because Google, simply by the nature of what it is, reinforces negativity bias and confirmation bias. Now, the other part of that that's really enticing is what we call availability heuristics. This is the built-in process that we have that contributes to all of these. Heuristics is how we answer questions. It's our strategy for answering questions, finding what we want, or whatever. Now, I'll give you 2 examples. You're playing hide and seek, and one heuristic of the person who's it is simply to go to all the places they think people can hide and see. And that's a very methodical, very simplistic idea, very simplistic problem-solving strategy to find people just one by one, go to all the different places that they could hide. Now, there could be another strategy, another heuristic. I might consider the personalities of the different individuals who are hiding, and I might know for certain that Robert is scared to death of spiders, so he will never hide in a place where there might be spiders. And I would use that information to intelligently locate where he is. Certainly, I would not look or waste time looking where he isn't because I know there's spiders there. So heuristics is our inborn strategy, our learned strategy, all of these mechanisms that we use to find information. Availability heuristics is the phenomenon by which we are likely to be a little lazy. I'm going to take the first answer that I get. That's the one. Now, combine that with a Google search that is already giving you the negative bias, already giving you the confirmation bias, and you're going to take the first couple hits. It's probably not the best source of information. Might be, probably not. It's the one that is most geared toward what Google thinks you're looking for. So my heuristics when I'm growing up is I'm adopting the viewpoints of my family because they're available to me. I'm adopting the viewpoints of my friends because they're available to me. If I go to a Democratic convention or I go to a Republican convention and I find alignment there, I'm going to adopt the ones that are right in front of me. It takes more work to look at the other side. But that is the key to understanding the complexity of many of the social problems that we have. It is very unlikely that one extreme view or another is ultimately the solution to the issues that we face. It's more likely a combination. Life is not simple. Neither are the problems that life creates. So, Pinker makes that argument that things are going well, but yet there's this experience that people have about negativity bias, confirmation bias, availability heuristics, and the impact of algorithms in our search engines. And our political leaders jump right on that. Now, the critical thinking question is, if the world around us, and let's include many, and we don't necessarily have to personalize it, except we do see that within the political world, there is a deep personalization of this, individuals who ascribe to the idea that the world is going to hell. Ministers that subscribe to the idea that the world is going to hell. Even for the time being, you are free to look at Pinker and say he's full of it. You are probably incorrect, but that is your right. But for now, for the purpose of this class, I want you to consider that his statistics are spot on. Things are going better than they ever have. What motivates different individuals in power, in positions of influence, to convince you that the world is going to hell? Who are the winners in response to you believing, or all of us believing, that the world is going to hell? Who is the winners? Who are the losers? That is the critical thinking question for this week. In the discussion, to have a broad level, open-ended, supportive discussion of who's winning when it comes to the idea of convincing people the world is going to hell. Now, we might want to latch on to what motivations do individuals have? How will they gain in particular ways in terms of kind of like the forefront motivations of us, which is security, safety. You can look at the hierarchy of needs, but also esteem, power, influence, wealth, those kind of things, basic motivations that we all experience. If people are in power and they have you believing the world is going to hell when it really isn't, how does that make it more likely for them to achieve their goals? Let's consider that. Let's consider looking at anybody. You can look at it at the national, global level. You can look at it the family level, the church level, the local community, anyone. You can be an independent thinker in these things and be able to examine all these. And please, I guess I'm asking you to have the courage, as we must, as scientists, as individuals who are pursuing a deep understanding of the human experience in psychology, we have to have the capacity to question our own beliefs, where they came from, are they biased? And although we can't ever fully eliminate those, we can certainly be aware of them and take them into consideration when we are acting in the role of being an educated person with social science background. That's it. Lots to digest in this one discussion that's covering those chapters. So I'm really looking forward to that dialogue to be a rich one, a sharing one, and certainly a mutually supportive one. And I will see you online, and take good care.